I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Patrick Leahy urged fellow colleagues on the Senate floor Wednesday to pass the Women's Health Protection Act. The Senate is voting on the act today, and if passed, it would codify abortion rights into law. Leahy said this legislation is, quote, protecting half of America's population in their right to seek the health care they require. Here's more from the Vermont Democrat.
Mr. President, I listened to the debate about the Women's Health Protection Act. Protecting women's health is protecting half of America's population in the right to seek the health care they require. Protecting their ability, half of America, protecting their ability to make decisions about their own bodies. How is this even a question up for debate? Today, the Senate considers the Women's Health Protection Act. A woman's right to make choices about her own body is a constitutional right. It was affirmed by the Supreme Court nearly 50 years ago. Polling, as if that should be the benchmark by which we legislate, shows that nearly 2 out of 3 Americans believe the fundamental right established in 1973's Roe versus Wade should be upheld. But here we are today, a body of 100, 76% of which are male, making decisions about the private lives of the nearly 168 million women in this country. That's ludicrous. The right of any woman to receive the health care they choose and seek should be important to each and every one of us. Women, our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, aunts, friends, they know what's best for them in their own lives. How patronizing to suggest otherwise. How patriarchal. How insulting. How dangerous. I'm the dean of the Senate. I'm the longest-serving member of this body today. I've worked for decades to support legislation that affirms a woman's right to access comprehensive health care from a trusted provider without interference. The right to comprehensive family planning resources, whatever those resources may be, is not only a fundamental right to privacy for these women, but it's an important public policy, that public health policy as well. In 2019, the Vermont House and Senate, by wide margins, approved the Freedom of Choice Act. That guarantees the right to access safe abortion care in Vermont. Governor Scott, a Republican, signed that bill into law in June 2019. If the court does overturn Roe, then the Freedom of Choice Act would protect the health care right in Vermont, just as the Supreme Court case was ahead of Roe versus Wade, Beecham versus Leahy does the same. Once again, Vermont is a leader on an issue of national significance. But the unfortunate reality is that 26 other states stand ready to ban abortion rights in the absence of Roe. What are the women of these states to do? And prominent Republican voices in the Senate, even now, say they would not rule out the possibility that a future Senate in Congress would overrule such state laws in Vermont and elsewhere and impose a national ban on women's choice. And what laws are these states prepared to pass? What resources are they prepared to provide to support these women and the children they'll bear? The answer we know, and I fear, is none. We'll determine what you do, but we won't do anything to help you afterward. Now, the implications of the Supreme Court's opinion should a final decision mirror the leaked draft go far beyond reproductive rights. For decades, the Supreme Court has stood as an independent arbiter in this country, striking down a constitutional right that has supported millions of Americans, not just women, will cause many to lose confidence in the integrity of our judicial system. Worse still, it could threaten the rights protected under the precedent set by Roe and affirmed in other cases. I acknowledge the fear that many are feeling right now about that possibility. Certainly, I hear it in my office. And that is why we need to pass the Women's Health Protection Act. What would the suffragists say of us today? What would the icons of the civil rights movement say of us today? A vote against the Women's Health Protection Act is a vote against equality. It's a vote against women, plain and simple. It's a vote against the progress we've made to right the wrongs of inequality. It's at odds with what an overwhelming majority of the American public believes. It says in many states in this country, women will be treated differently than men. You know, Mr. President, my sons and grandsons can travel anywhere in the United States knowing the law is the same for them. My daughter and granddaughters under this would know they could not be treated the same as they traveled around the country. What does that say about America? That our sons and our grandsons will be treated differently than our daughters and our granddaughters. Will be treated, our daughters and our granddaughters will be told by these states, you have less rights than your brothers or your fathers or your uncles. So shame on the Senate today. I stand with women, my wife, my daughter, my granddaughters, when I say that I trust them to make the health decisions that are best for them. And I'll fight against any effort to erode these fundamental constitutional rights. That's what the Senate should do. That's what we do if we truly are going to be the conscience of the nation. But that's what this Vermonter intends to do. Mr. President, I suggest you have to quorum.
Clerk.